HOA Karen. My dad's wedding photo didn't know he's the police chief. The moment I stepped into the community center, I knew something was off. Karen's voice, sharp as a serrated knife, sliced through the chatter, berating someone about unacceptable lawn ornaments. I clutched the old wooden frame in my hands, the one holding my parents' wedding photo, and braced myself for the HOA meeting. I'm Mia, 24, back in my small hometown of Willow Creek to help my dad sort through Mom's things. She passed last year, and every memory of her feels like a lifeline. That photo, Dad in his dorky suit, Mom radiant in her lace dress, was her favorite. I brought it to the HOA meeting to share during the community memorial segment, a chance to honor her. But Karen, the self-appointed queen of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, had other plans. The meeting room smelled of stale coffee and resentment. Karen, in her pressed blazer and overly bright lipstick, stood at the podium, her eyes scanning the crowd like a hawk. She'd been terrorizing the neighborhood for years, fining people for slightly overgrown hedges, sending nasty letters about mailbox colors. Last week, she'd slapped Dad with a $200 fine for a non-compliant porch light. He'd just replaced it after a storm, but Karen didn't care. Rules are rules, she'd snapped when he tried to explain. I took a seat near the back, the photo frame warm against my lap. Dad wasn't here yet. He'd been called to the station for an emergency. As police chief, he was always on call, but he'd promised to make it for the memorial segment. I scanned the room, mostly familiar faces, neighbors who'd known Mom's warmth and Dad's quiet strength. Then Karen's voice boomed again. "Next item, the community memorial display," she said, her tone dripping with false sympathy. "Let's keep it brief. We have actual business to discuss." I raised my hand, heart pounding. "I'd like to share something for my mom, Ellen Harper." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Mia, is it fine, but make it quick, and no clutter for the display table." Clutter, I bit my tongue, walking to the front with the photo. It was a simple 8x10, the edges worn from years of love. I set it gently on the display table beside a few candles and flowers for other loved ones. "This was my parents' wedding photo," I said, my voice steady despite the lump in my throat. "Mom always said it reminded her of the best day of her life." A murmur of warmth spread through the room. Mrs. Delaney, our neighbor since I was 5, smiled softly, but Karen rolled her eyes. "Sentimental trinkets don't belong here," she muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This isn't a flea market." I froze, heat rising to my cheeks. "It's not a trinket. It's for my mom." Karen waved a dismissive hand. "We'll move on. Next." The meeting dragged on, Karen nitpicking every agenda item. She fined Mr. Torres for his kid's basketball hoop, called Mrs. Delaney's garden an eyesore, and lectured the room about upholding property values. I sat there, fuming, the photo still on the display table. I kept glancing at it, Mom's smile anchoring me. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. As Karen droned on about mailbox regulations, a man slipped into the room, Mr. Carver, the retired librarian who rarely attended these meetings. He was in his 70s, frail, with a nervous energy I'd never seen before. He raised a trembling hand. "Karen, I need to speak." She sighed dramatically. "What now?" "Harold." Mr. Carver stood, clutching a crumpled envelope. "I found this in my mailbox. It's a fine for $500 claiming my fence is structurally unsound, but I had it inspected last month. It's fine. You're targeting me because I wouldn't sign your petition to raise HOA fees." The room erupted in whispers. Karen's face tightened. "That's absurd. The board approved that fine." "Board, Mr. Carver scoffed. "You are the board. You've been bullying us for years." "Karen, and I'm done." A few neighbors clapped. I felt a spark of hope someone was finally standing up to her. But Karen's lips curled into a smirk. "Sit down, Harold. You're embarrassing yourself." That's when it started to unravel. Karen's confidence, her iron grip on the room, began to crack as more neighbors spoke up. Mrs. Delaney mentioned a $300 fine for her unauthorized rose bushes. Mr. Torres said Karen had threatened to tow his car over a parking dispute. Each story piled on, the air growing thicker with anger. I glanced at the photo, wishing Dad were here to see this. Then Karen made her move. She stormed to the display table, grabbed my parents' wedding photo, and held it up like a trophy. This, she sneered, is exactly the kind of clutter we don't need. It's distracting from real issues. Before I could react, she tore the photo in half. The room gasped. My heart stopped as the pieces fluttered to the floor. Mom's smile ripped apart. "You can't do that," I shouted, lunging forward. Karen tossed the frame onto the table, where it landed with a crack. "It's just a photo. Mia, get over it." Tears stung my eyes, but rage burned hotter. That was my mother's. "You had no right." The room was chaos now, neighbors shouting, Karen yelling back, insisting she was keeping order. I knelt to pick up the torn pieces, my hands shaking. That's when the door swung open, and Dad walked in. Chief Daniel Harper wasn't a tall man, but his presence filled the room. His police uniform gleamed under the fluorescent lights, his badge catching the glint. The crowd fell silent. Karen's smirk vanished as she registered who he was. "Mia, what's going on?" Dad's voice was calm, but I knew that tone steel beneath the surface. I held up the torn photo, my voice breaking. "She destroyed it. Dad, Mom's wedding photo." His eyes darkened as he took the pieces from me. The room watched, breathless. Karen stammered. "It was an accident." I was just clearing the table. "An accident," Dad's voice was low. "Dangerous. You tore my late wife's photo in front of my daughter and called it clutter." Karen's face paled. "I didn't know it was yours, Daniel. I mean, Chief Harper." "You didn't know." He stepped closer, holding the torn photo. "You've been fining me for weeks over nonsense. You've harassed my neighbors, and now you desecrate my wife's memory." The crowd murmured, some calling out, "She's gone too far." Karen tried to backpedal. "I'm just enforcing the rules. This HOA needs order." "Order," Dad said, his voice rising. "You've turned this community into a battleground. I've heard the complaints. Karen, I've seen the letters, the fines, the threats. You're done." Karen's eyes darted around, searching for allies, but the room was against her. "Mr. Carver stepped forward, holding up his fine. "She's been extorting us for years. I have proof, letters, emails, all of it." Mrs. Delaney nodded. "She told me my roses were lowering property values. I've lived here 30 years, and no one's complained but her." The accusations piled up, each one a hammer blow to Karen's reign. I clutched the broken frame, my grief mixing with a strange relief. Dad put a hand on my shoulder, his voice steady. "Mia, go wait outside. I'll handle this." I didn't want to leave, but I trusted him. As I stepped out, I heard Karen's voice rise in a desperate pitch. "You can't do this. I'm the president of this HOA." Outside, I sat on a bench, the torn photo in my hands. The night air was cool, but my chest felt heavy. Mom's smile was still there, even in pieces. I didn't know how long I sat there before Dad came out, his face weary but resolute. "She's finished," he said simply. "The board's holding an emergency vote to remove her." Mr. Carver's evidence was enough to start an investigation. Turns out, she's been pocketing some of those fines. I looked up, stunned. Pocketing them? Dad nodded. "She's been skimming money from the HOA for years. The fines, the fees, it wasn't all going to the community. She's facing charges now." The weight of it hit me. Karen's tyranny wasn't just petty, it was criminal. I thought of all the neighbors she'd bullied, the stress she'd caused Dad while he grieved Mom. And that photo, the one thing I'd brought to keep Mom's memory alive, torn apart by her cruelty. The next week, the HOA held a new meeting. Karen was gone, replaced by Mrs. Delaney as interim president. The room felt lighter, neighbors laughing and sharing stories instead of bracing for Karen's next rant. Dad helped me frame a new copy of the wedding photo, this one from a backup Mom had kept. It wasn't the same, but it was enough. As we left the meeting, Mrs. Delaney pulled me aside. "Mia, we're starting a real memorial garden for your mom, and others we've lost. No more clutter rules. Will you help us plan it? I nodded, tears prickling my eyes. For the first time in months, I felt Mom's warmth again, like she was still with us. Karen's reign was over, her lies exposed, her power stripped away. She'd thought she could control everyone, but she didn't know who she was up against, not just a grieving daughter, but a police chief and a community that had had enough. What do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved? Or should the community have shown her mercy? Share your thoughts below.